It started as a digital tremor, then became an earthquake. The first signs were subtle, almost easy to miss. A few rumors, a handful of cryptic leaks, and then suddenly, the ground shifted beneath our feet. In late 2025, the Department of Justice unsealed the first wave of Epstein investigation documents, shattering years of secrecy and speculation. Thousands of pages, emails, photos, memos, spilled into the public domain. The sheer volume was staggering, a flood of information that threatened to overwhelm even the most seasoned investigators. The world waited for the names. In newsrooms and living rooms, anticipation mixed with dread as people braced for the revelations to come. In early 2026, millions more files were released, a torrent so vast it threatened to bury the truth beneath its weight. The shock was immediate, and the consequences rippled across the globe. News alerts flashed, social media exploded, and a grim realization set in. This was worse than anyone imagined. The story was no longer just about Epstein, but about the world he inhabited. The files revealed a hidden world, exposing presidents, princes, tech titans, and media moguls. The powerful, once untouchable, now found their secrets laid bare. But being named didn't always mean guilt. Some were mentioned in passing, others for legitimate reasons, and some were unverified tips. The lines between rumor, fact, and fabrication blurred in the chaos. The files were raw, unfiltered, a mosaic of connections and allegations. Each document was a piece of a puzzle, but the full picture remained elusive. For victims, it was long-awaited validation. Their stories, once dismissed or ignored, were finally being heard and believed. For the world, a horrifying confirmation of rot at the highest levels. The institutions people trusted were implicated in ways few could have imagined. The scale and casualness of the communications painted a picture of a system operating in plain sight, protected by wealth and influence. The banality of evil was on full display. The question was no longer if a shadow network existed, but how deep it went, and who would be held accountable. The search for answers had only just begun. This wasn't just about one man's depravity, but the ecosystem that enabled him. The web of complicity stretched further than anyone dared to guess. Epstein was the hub, but the spokes reached every corner of high society. No institution, no circle of power seemed untouched. The truth was finally coming out, one damning file at a time. But as the deluge continued, one question remained: would justice follow? How do the powerful become convinced of their own invincibility? It's learned, not innate. Over years they absorb subtle cues from their environment, privileges granted, boundaries ignored, consequences avoided. This gradual conditioning shapes their worldview, brick by brick. When you're a billionaire, a president, a prince, the rules don't seem to apply. The world bends to your will, and the rare moments of resistance only reinforce your sense of exceptionality. Legal troubles vanish, the media is managed, and over time, you believe you're untouchable. The machinery of influence works quietly, erasing mistakes and rewriting narratives. This mindset explains why so many left a digital trail. They never thought anyone would dare look. Their confidence in secrecy becomes a blind spot, a fatal flaw. Power changes the brain. It reduces empathy, increases impulsivity, and skews risk assessment. The more power one holds, the more detached from ordinary consequences they become. The long-term risk of exposure is drowned out by the short-term gratification of desire. Temptation becomes irresistible, and the future feels too distant to matter. It's not an excuse, but it's a critical explanation, a cognitive rot that sets in when surrounded by affirmation and shielded from accountability. The echo chamber of power distorts reality. They fear losing control of the narrative more than the evidence itself, trusting the system to protect them. Reputation, not truth, becomes the currency of survival. History has shown them scandals can be buried, friends walk away unscathed. The cycle repeats, reinforcing the illusion of safety. Their confidence is a calculated assessment, not just arrogance. Every move is weighed, every risk measured, but always with the belief that the odds are in their favor. The release of these files is a brutal intrusion of truth into a world built on lies. Suddenly, the fortress of secrecy is breached, and the illusion shatters. For the first time, many are discovering they are not as untouchable as they believed. The reckoning is real, and the world is finally watching. The Epstein files aren't filled with explicit confessions, they're filled with coded logistics and euphemisms, a language designed to obscure the truth from prying eyes. Criminals rarely spell out their crimes. Instead, they hide behind layers of secrecy, using language as a shield. They use phrases like, "the package is ready," or "arrange accommodations," words that seem harmless, but carry sinister meaning for those in the know. Only with victim testimony and insider accounts does the true meaning become clear, revealing the dark reality behind the coded words. One bizarre example: endless emails about beef jerky. On the surface, it sounds absurd, almost comical, but investigators suspect it's code for something far darker, a way to discuss illegal activity without raising suspicion. Coded language provides operational security and a psychological buffer. Participants distance themselves from the reality of their actions, making it easier to justify their involvement. They aren't trafficking a person, they're arranging a package. The words sanitize the crime, making it feel less real. This detachment helps silence moral alarms, allowing participants to operate without confronting the full weight of their actions. The use of code is the fingerprint of conspiracy, a shared, secret understanding among those who know they're doing wrong, binding them together in silence. Without a key, the messages remain opaque, their true meaning hidden from outsiders and investigators alike. Deciphering this language is crucial to unraveling the network's crimes, exposing the connections and the people behind them. The sterile, business-like tone is not innocence, it's evidence of a criminal enterprise operating under the guise of normalcy. The code is the glue that held the network together, a secret language that enabled their crimes to flourish in the shadows. Humans take cues from those around them. In Epstein's world, deviance became routine. Group normalization is powerful. When everyone in your circle attends the same parties, the unthinkable becomes ordinary. The presence of other powerful figures created collective validation. If everyone's doing it, how bad can it be? Logistics, not morality, dominated the conversation. Elon Musk's email, "What day or night will be the wildest party on your island?" shows how monstrous acts were reframed as elite recreation. Secrecy and exclusivity reinforced the in-group dynamic. The outside world's rules didn't apply. Epstein's circle became a cult of power, with its own rituals and rules. Members weren't cartoon villains. They were people whose boundaries eroded, one compromise at a time. This is how the unthinkable becomes normal. The files paint a damning picture of global elites. Trump's association is documented. Emails, unverified tips, and references to what he knew. He denies wrongdoing, but the questions remain. Clinton appears in photos on Epstein's jet and in a pool with Maxwell. He denies knowledge, but the evidence lingers. Prince Andrew is shown in photos and emails contradicting his denials, creating a crisis for the royal family. The list continues. Elon Musk, Lord Mandelson, Larry Summers, Bill Gates, Deepak Chopra, Steve Bannon, Noam Chomsky, Richard Branson. Each name is met with denial or regret, but the files tell a different story. The photographic and testimonial evidence refuses to go away. The denials are firm, but the narrative is deeply troubling. The files link the world's most powerful to Epstein's dark saga. Their words captured in these files speak volumes. To predict what happens next, look to the past. Jimmy Savile. For decades, Savile was a beloved celebrity, using fame and charity as cover for horrific abuse. Complaints were ignored. His power made him untouchable. Only after his death did the truth emerge, hundreds of offenses, confirmed by police. There were inquiries and apologies, but no trial for Savile and little systemic accountability. The focus shifted from criminal prosecution to institutional failure. This is the danger facing the Browning case. In Grindr, with Epstein dead, the central pillar for prosecution is gone. Exposure may lead to public shaming, resignations, and apologies, but will it lead to justice? The system often prefers reports and reforms over indictments. The risk is that the narrative shifts from individual crimes to abstract institutional failures. If that happens, the powerful may once again escape true justice. The Savile case is a stark warning. For every powerful name, there are countless silenced victims. Their fight is echoed in stories like Corey Feldman's, ignored by police, dismissed by the system. The statute of limitations is a major barrier, laws vary, and the legal clock often runs out before victims can come forward. Facing billionaires with teams of lawyers, the odds are stacked against survivors. Public scrutiny and victim blaming add to the burden. The accused have resources to discredit and control the narrative. For victims, coming forward means risking everything. The testimony in the Epstein files is rare and courageous. Voices like Johanna Sjoberg and Virginia Giuffre give context to the evidence. Their words transform a list of names into a story of suffering and resilience. Their fight for justice is the only fight that matters. Why does the system protect the powerful? Because it was designed to. Legal and social institutions are built by those in power, for those in power. When scandals erupt, the system's instinct is to contain damage, not pursue justice. Wealth buys leniency. Billionaires hire the best lawyers, exploit loopholes, and negotiate sweetheart deals. Institutions, law enforcement, media, universities, often look the other way, fearing backlash or loss of funding. This creates a protective shield around the elite. Public response can be fleeting. Outrage fades, and reports replace indictments. The system absorbs shocks, makes surface changes, but leaves power structures untouched. Until that changes, it will continue to fail victims. The system bends toward self-preservation, not justice. The Epstein files release isn't the end, it's a beginning. We've seen behind the curtain. The darkness is deeper than we imagined. These revelations matter because they expose a culture that excuses the wealthy and discards the vulnerable. This is a moral reckoning, not just a criminal one. Real change means reforming laws, demanding consequences for enablers, and holding institutions accountable. We must create a culture where victims are believed and supported. Power can't be a get-out-of-jail-free card. The forces that protected Epstein are still in place. They're counting on our apathy. They hope we'll move on, forget, and let outrage fade. We can't let that happen. Not this time. The choice is ours. Turn the page, or demand true justice. The powerful count on our silence. The victims count on our voice. The future depends on the reckoning we choose. What will you do?